All right, I'm out here wrapping up the recoil reduction series for the Hellcat Pro. There was a little bit of a delay. Last week I came up here. This is the gravel pit that I usually go shoot at. Let's take a look here. So as you can see, it's dirty as all hell. You know, people leave a bunch of garbage up here. We've got the infinity target up here. If you want 15% off of one of these guys, go to the website, use 360TS as your discount code. But as you can see, there is just so much trash all over the place. Let's come walk over here. See more trash. I mean, it's really disgusting. Now, when I came up here last week, there was a truck parked over here. A couple of tweakers buck naked going to town on each other, and they just refused to leave. So I wasn't able to come up here and use the Mantis X to go ahead and get the recoil information that I needed for this final video. But as you can see, I've got the whole place to myself today, which is nice. I'm wrapping up and I'm heading home to finish up this video. Okay folks, today is the day I'm finally sitting down and getting the conclusion finished for the series on recoil reduction with the Hellcat Pro. First off, I want to say that the information in this video isn't specific to the Hellcat Pro. This information can be used on all manner of firearms. This is recoil reduction in general, and this could apply to your Glock, this could apply to a SIG or an M&P, anything. That being said, I don't personally feel like the Hellcat Pro was unpleasant or uncontrollable in its stock configuration. In terms of recoil, I could have been perfectly happy with it straight out of the box. People, though, asked me about the DPM recoil reduction spring. After that, some other people asked me about putting a comp on it. After that, some other people asked me about porting it. The bigger conversation here is that I didn't set out to make some Gucci-ass race gun. That wasn't necessarily the goal. And while I do believe that training with a qualified professional is important, as well as doing lots of live and dry fire practice, the reality is that any reduction in recoil can be beneficial from the most novice of shooters all the way up to experts. For some people, though, those slight reductions in recoils that you may gain, they could make the difference between life or death in a real-life self-defense situation. So here's the God's honest truth. I have struggled with carpal tunnel for years, longer than I care to admit to. I have good days, and then there are days where I just flat out can't feel my hands at all. Even on those good days, my grip strength, it's not anywhere near what it should be. I know people who have had injuries that have led to arthritis. People with shoulder, wrist, elbow problems. Hell, one of my best friends only has one hand. Tragic alligator incident. I'm kidding about the alligator. He really has only one hand. Look, the point is there are so many people out there that can benefit from a reduction in recoil. And that is why I've set out to do this series. The series isn't meant for the people at home watching the video who believe that they are tier 1 operators. No, this series is for people who would like a slight reduction in recoil with any handgun. Whether it's a Glock, a Smith & Wesson, a Springfield, or some kind of 1911. The data from these tests can pretty much universally be applied to any gun that you carry. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the stock barrel and we're going to put that on the Hellcat Pro, and then we're going to use the Mantis X10 Elite to measure the recoil at the range during live fire practice. I'm going to leave a link below for this Mantis. Feel free to click that link and take a look. I love this thing. I use it. I try to use it every day for dry fire practice. I do need to get in there and use it more. This last week's been a little crazy. But in terms of being able to train at home, the Mantis, whether it is the X3 or the X10 or any X's in between, it is the best thing that's out there for training at home. Inside of the Mantis, I believe there's some sort of accelerometer, and it's going to go ahead and measure whatever recoil that we have, and then the app is going to go ahead and crunch those numbers and give us some details about that recoil. This is great because it gives us actual numbers to judge the recoil by rather than just guessing on which one we're getting better results with. So let's take a look at the data from the Mantis so that you can kind of get an idea of what to expect from this system. And then we can go through and compare each of the 3 variations of Hellcat Pro and just kind of see where we're at. Okay, so here we have the recoil results from the stock barrel. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. Okay, now as you can see, that was like 16 shots here. You can go through and see each one individually. What we're really looking at is the muzzle rise. Now, it's pretty consistent. This is the stock barrel. I don't want to go in too depth here, but down in the corner, we have an average muzzle rise of 15.37 degrees. And we can look up here and we can see recovery time. We can take a look at muzzle rise. We have recoil width. That's going to kind of give us an idea of the width of the recoil per shot. We can see the angle at which the recoil went, but what I'm really interested in is the muzzle rise. Again, 15.37 degrees is what the average was using the stock barrel on the Hellcat Pro. The next step is to gather data with the Hellcat Pro using the comp. And just to keep things somewhat even, what I've done is I've just taken the slide from my comped gun and I've just put it on my other gun. The reason that I've done that is the frame for my ported Hellcat Pro, I recently put these Talon grips on here. I don't know if you guys have used these before. They're actually pretty awesome. I might actually do a video on these later on, but they do make a difference in grip, which can affect recoil. So I wanted to go ahead and do all the testing on this frame that has the Talon grips instead of going back and forth. Of course, I'm using the Apex threaded barrel and the Strike Industries quad comp on that gun. I have run a crap ton of ammo through that configuration, and I can tell you that it does make a big difference in the recoil. How much difference? Well, let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so here we have our results with the comp. And again, I'm just going to look at the muzzle rise back out here. So, same thing, we've got the 16 rounds that we put through it. Right here, 13.27 degrees was the average muzzle rise. And you can see this last one kind of trails off there. I took a shot, and afterwards, I was fumbling with the phone to go ahead and stop this string of shots, but they're all pretty consistent, pretty close, but the average, 13.27. Now we'll go ahead and back out of there. Alright guys, so I'm in here in the office right now as we speak, editing this very video, and I just wanted to record and jump in with just a little bit of a correction real quick. As I was reading through the data from the Mantis, it looks like the Hellcat Pro actually fires 16 rounds. Obviously, the Hellcat Pro only holds 15, and so I spent about 20 minutes kind of looking through the data, and I think what's happened is that I have a tendency to press check after I run dry, because what happens is I ride that slide stop super hard and it doesn't stay open after my last round. So because of that, I always do a press check afterwards. And I believe what's happening is the Mantis is counting a 16th round for that press check. So disregard that portion of the data. I knew if I didn't jump in here and correct that the comment section would just go crazy. Next on the list is going to be this guy right here. This is my daily carry, and this is the Hellcat Pro with the Floyd's custom port job done on it. I know a lot of people have been really excited about this, but let's go ahead and dive in and look at the data from that. Alright guys, I don't know exactly what happened. I think I may have forgot to hit the record button while I was using the ported Hellcat Pro out at the range. So we'll just go ahead and roll in some old footage, you know, just to throw something in there. Here we can see our muzzle rise. The average here is going to be 11.39 degrees of muzzle rise. And you can go through with the app and you can actually see the movement every time I took a shot. A little inconsistent, but it equals out to 11.39 degrees. Okay, so here is the results. The stock configuration worked out to an average of 15.37 degrees of muzzle rise. The comp was 13.27, and the ported version was 11.39. Clearly, the winner here in reducing muzzle rise was the port job by Floyd's Custom. This isn't just a matter of recoil either. There are a lot of other factors that you want to consider as far as what direction you want to go, whether it's porting a gun or adding a comp to it. One of the things that kind of gets me about adding a comp is trying to find a holster. I had to modify one of my G-code holsters in order to work with the comped version of the Hellcat Pro. To be honest, that was one of the least comfortable carry scenarios I've ever been in. In an attempt to make life just a little bit more bearable, I grabbed a piece of yoga block and I cut myself a wedge. I did manage to gain just a little bit of comfort, not a lot, but a little bit, enough that I could carry it. With the comp sticking out of the end of the holster, all it wants to do is dig into me and make me miserable pretty much all the time in any position that I'm in. Whether it's standing or sitting or leaning, it doesn't matter. It's still pretty uncomfortable, and I don't like carrying the comped Hellcat Pro. Another thing is the compensator adds a fair amount of weight to the front end, and I feel like it really does throw it out of balance. If this was going to be my full-time carry weapon, I could probably train past that. It wouldn't be such a huge deal. Being a test gun, though, just taking it out to the range, I do notice quite a bit that, you know, it does reduce the recoil, but I do get a lot of muzzle dip. Regardless of whether or not you can train past it, you know what, it's just something to consider. Another thing to consider, to my ears, the comp is quite a bit louder than what the ported version is. The blast is quite a bit more concussive, and if I were to ever have to use this thing in a, I don't know, close quarters, enclosed type situation, it's not going to be real pleasant. Of course, the ported version, it's pretty loud as well. It's not like it's quiet. Both of these are going to be louder than a stock barrel. On the other hand, as far as using a comp goes, it's kind of a plus that you're not permanently modifying your firearm. That's great, because if you ever encounter some sort of warranty issue, or let's say you want to sell it down the road, you're probably better off that way. Being able to bring it back to its stock configuration means that you're retaining its original value, more or less. Then again, cleaning this thing is a pain, because every time that I take it out to the range and shoot it, then I have to remove the comp to get the barrel out, to get it cleaned all the way, and then when I'm done, I gotta put it all back together, torque it back down. It's really a pain in the ass. Yeah, I don't know. I think if I had to pick one, if I had to say one was superior to the other, I would go with the ported version done by Floyd's Custom. First off, it looks sick. Second, for me, it had the best results in recoil reduction. Third, I retained compatibility with any holster on the market that's made for the Hellcat Pro. Not only that, but it's going to be just as comfortable to carry as a stock Hellcat Pro. Keep in mind, this is my experience and opinion. This is what suits my personal needs, my lifestyle, my budget, everything that I do while upgrading these firearms. It's all about giving you guys perspective. And you know what? Maybe what's best for my situation isn't going to be what's best for yours. But at least you're getting an opinion from somebody who's been through it, who's tried it. In my experience, this Hellcat Pro that's been ported by Floyd's Custom Shop, it's incredible. Sure, it costs a little bit more than taking your stock gun and, you know, adding a comp and a threaded barrel. But for me, it's realistically worth every penny. Hopefully you guys got a little bit out of this video. It definitely took a bit to kind of put this thing together. I think in the end, the series has been a good learning experience, not just for myself, but everybody who's watched it. Whether you keep your Hellcat Pro in the stock configuration, or if you port it, or if you add a comp. You know what? Just get out there and do some shooting, get some practice in. Be safe and enjoy shooting sports. You guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. That's it for today. I'll see you back here real soon.